The Capital Investment Committee hearing for April 21st is called to order. A quorum is present. Representative Allen, can I have a motion to approve the minutes for April 16th?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes, Mr. Chair.
Representative Allen moves approval of the minutes for April 16th. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay.
Aye.
The motion prevails and the minutes are approved. Members, thank you all for being here today. We'll hear several bills on an informational basis only. And after that, we'll take action on 2 vehicle bills as we close our committee's schedule for the session. And so today we have quite a bit on the plate. And so we are allocating 6 minutes each bill. And that includes, your testimony and Q&A. And so for all testifiers, make sure you keep your remarks brief. Welcome, Representative Hicks, House File 4896. Please proceed.
Thank you so much, Chair. I will be incredibly brief. This bill is appropriation for the pre-planning process to create a psychiatric residential treatment facility, a 30-bed facility for children. Rather than make you listen to me, I will hand it over to the testifiers. First, Ms. Anderson will tell you about the need, and then we'll move to DCT to share the process.
Welcome, Director Anderson. Please identify yourself and proceed.
Good morning, Co-Chairs Spanson and Lee, and members of the Capital Investment Committee. My name is Kirsten Anderson. I'm the Executive Director of Aspire Minnesota, a statewide association of child and family serving organizations. I'm here in support of House File 4896 to invest in safety net mental health care for children by supporting the development of a children's psychiatric residential treatment facility to be operated by Minnesota Department of Care and Treatment. For context, we know that Minnesota needs a full continuum of mental health care to meet the needs of our children and families. Unfortunately, we have too many gaps in our children's mental health system. Kids and families are waiting too long for earlier intervention and skill building. Our most effective treatment models haven't been built to scale, and we do not have sufficient capacity to serve children with the highest levels of need, especially related to symptoms of aggression toward staff, peers, and self-harming behaviors. House File 4896 responds to the needs of our most complex children, children who our system currently fails when they fall through the cracks in care and get stuck boarding in hospitals, detention, and or with counties. In response to the boarding crisis, we as community providers have built a community mental health collaboration hub to bring together clinical experts to identify solutions for children to transition from boarding to community care. As part of that work, we collect de-identified data on children who are boarding. The data are clear. Children who get stuck boarding are children whose top risk factors include aggression, self-harm, and elopement. Children's residential treatment providers statewide are caring for highly acute children today, and the most acute needs continue to outpace our staffed capacity to serve. As hospital, residential, and community mental health experts gather weekly within the hub to identify treatment options for children who are boarding, there are often inquiries about the options that DCT can deliver. As a state agency with expertise in safety net care, DCT is positioned to close the specific gap in our service continuum. As you consider this investment, there are 3 other realities to bear in mind. First, as the memo in your packet outlines, over the past 20 years, Minnesota has lost over 850 beds in residential treatment capacity. This proposals and other recent projects are building updated trauma-informed and responsive treatment models that are greatly needed. Second, acuity of children and complexity of systems continues to increase here and globally. We need to develop capacity throughout our continuum to meet this trend. Third, this work is full of nuance. Individualized care for children and families is complex. From early intervention to our most intensive responses, we must thoughtfully build a responsive and full mental health treatment continuum, including sustaining critical care being delivered today. There is not one solution. We must pursue many in parallel. Finally, and most importantly, you need to know that despite our system gaps, wait times, and other pain points, we know that when children and families get the care that they need, they do better. Outcomes improve for the short and long term. Children's mental health care improves and saves lives. Thank you.
Welcome, Chief Freeman. Please identify yourself and proceed.
Hi, my name is Nancy Freeman, and I'm the Operations Services Chief Operating Officer for Direct Care and Treatment. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on House File 4896. As Ms. Anderson said, there currently is a gap in treatment resources for children and youth under the age of 21 with complex mental health conditions in Minnesota and across the country. The funding in this bill is a small step forward in the process for the possible development of a 30-bed secure PRTF that will be operated by Direct Care and Treatment in the future. Pre-design and design could take 18 to 24 months to complete. DCT will then request additional construction and operating funds during the following session. Direct Care and Treatment is appreciative the appropriation of any funding that would increase resources for children and youth under the age of 21 with complex mental health conditions. Thank you for your time. Direct Care and Treatment staff and I are available for questions.
Thank you, Chief Freeman. Vice Chair Frederick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Hicks, do you know the approximate wait time kids are, like right now, kids that are waiting for these types of services? How long are they waiting? And then if they can't afford to wait, what's happening to them right now?
Representative Hicks.
Thank you, Chair. So the wait time varies, I would say, 3 months to 9 months, depending on the boarding situation. We've had some children who've boarded for over a year. What typically happens, we send them out of state, and when we send them out of state, counties pay for it with property tax dollars. In 2023, I added an amendment onto the Children and Families Bill to require counties to collect that data for the previous fiscal year. What it showed was that our property tax payers in Minnesota, our county spent almost $80 million sending kids out of state because we could not provide those resources in state. And when they send them out of state, they enter into individualized agreements with those providers out of state, and it comes completely out of the county coffers.
Vice Chair Frederick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess the second part of my question then would be, does this facility address the entire need for the entirety of the state, or would this just be one of perhaps, or more than one? What does that need look like?
Representative Hicks.
Thank you so much, Chair. So DCT completed a study to give us more information about what the scope and the needs are. We recognize this will not be the only solution. As Ms. Anderson stated, we need a lot of solutions, but we currently have 0 state-run PRFTs, which is why we are sending kids out of state. We only have 1 locked children's facility in the entire state, which means that children who are elopement risks have 1 option in a state of as many people as we have. And so this is step 1. So the first step was to figure out how much money we were sending out of state to meet this need. We got that number in 2024. The next step was to ask DCT to tell us what it would cost and what it would look like if they stepped into the space. We got that report this year. This is the third step to start looking at moving an actual facility forward. Once we get through these steps and start with something, I hope we can have a conversation about what the true safety net would need to look like. Unfortunately, children's mental health continues to have concerns at a speed to which bureaucracy is not kept up. And the needs do not go away if we do not choose to invest in it and we do not continue down the path. The needs continue, and our counties continue to send kids out of state, and we continue to have our counties pay for boarding and make choices that are not best for kids. When kids get sent out of state and counties are footing the bill for that, it's negative for taxpayers. It also has really poor outcomes for kids. When your child is in Virginia, not the state, or not the city, the state of Virginia, how do you do comprehensive family therapy? When your child is in Missouri, how do you transition back in a way that lets those skills that were learned in that facility transfer home? When your child's in Utah, how do we make those things really work when they come home? And the answer is they don't. Many times when we use out-of-state facilities, we do see improvement for a while, and then we're back in the system, and they're back boarding, and they're back on this hamster wheel that we can't get off of. And so this is step 3 in probably a 15-point plan to really meet these needs. But I would ask the committee to consider this tiny little investment to keep us moving forward. Every year that we don't pick up the next step in this plan sets us back 2 years.
All right, thank you, Representative Hicks. Seeing no other questions, I would take that as just closing remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have House File 4617, Representative Hussein. Welcome, Representative Hussein. I understand that you have informational amendment for us to take a look at, the 4617DE1. Can you explain the amendment and then please proceed?
It's good to be back in capital investment. I haven't been here for a while. This amendment will is allow for constructions and sewer system, and allows utility, public facility, and electricity to utilize that, allow for this funding to be used for serious site constructions.
Thank you, Representative Hussein. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. My name is Makia Griffin, and I serve as the CEO and President of Rondo Community Land Trust. I'm here today with community members, but none other and better than the esteemed Debbie Montgomery, our former council member. I'm here today to request your support for a targeted infrastructure investment at the former Sears site in St. Paul, one of the most prominent and long underutilized sites in the capital area. In March, we secured site control, and that was phase one. Today, we are here in support to actualize phase two, our public infrastructure, and continues our pre-development. Our request is for $43 million in general obligation bonds to fund publicly owned underground infrastructure systems like sewer, water, and stormwater infrastructure. These systems are essential, and they must be in place before any development can move forward. This is not a request to fund buildings. This is not a request to fund operations. This is an investment in infrastructure that enables development. And without this, the site remains what it has been for nearly a decade, a vacant, underutilized, and contributing nothing to the tax base for the city or the state. With this infrastructure in place, the site is positioned to be a very vibrant, mixed-use, transit-oriented development aligned with the capital area framework, that includes housing, commercial space, and public amenities, into part of the city that directly serves this body here and the broader capital community. Our vision would add more than 1,000 new housing units and over 250,000 square feet of commercial and community spaces. At full build-out, this can represent approximately $500 million of private investment, thousands of construction jobs, and long-term tax revenue generated from land that is currently producing none. I want to be clear, this is only one phase of a multi-phase effort, but this phase determines what type of development that can occur. The state has already made major investments to engage stakeholders on this site, and I'm excited that our vision is very directly aligned with the Capital Rights Development Framework as part of the 2040 Comprehensive Plan for the State of Minnesota Capital Area. This investment would allow us to move from vision to execution, and from stalled land to productive economic activity in partnership with the state of Minnesota. Thank you for your consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Welcome, please identify yourself and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Deborah Montgomery, longtime resident of the city of St. Paul, former city council member. I did a lot of stuff at the state capitol, too. So I'm very honored to be here. But I'm here to support this project because it is bringing the economic development for that area back to the tax base for the city, but also providing opportunities for housing and jobs. And so it's very engaging for us to make sure that it supports the activities of that area, but of the community that's around it. And that's very important for the city of St. Paul, and I'm here to support the project.
Well, thank you for being here. Members, any discussions? Representative Pérez-Vega, no? Go ahead.
Of course, St. Paul. Thank you for being here. I want to say thanks to Vice Chair of the delegation, Representative Hussein. We've been working closely on what capital vitality looks like. And this is something that in our first term, we really had discussions within members of our CAP board, and in particularly our lead speaker, Melissa Hortman, who said, what are we going to do with this site? This is such an impact not only to the community of St. Paul, but to our capital community. And so, you know, I really am so proud of the collaborative partnership with Rondo Community Land Trust. I want to say that you guys have been doing an amazing work within housing and restorative justice for our first historic Black community here. So thank you, Representative Hussein. Thank you to the amazing Deborah Montgomery and Makia for the work that you continue to do for our capital city.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I do have a question, but maybe this is for the city of St. Paul, knowing that we have a request of $43 million that's in front of us. It is quite a lot, and so I wanted to ask the city if they could come up to the testifying table to talk about the breakdown of the public infrastructure, please. Welcome, please identify yourself, and I think the question is, can you tell us what are the different phases to the $43 million for the infrastructure that's associated with the site, please?
Yeah, Chair Lee, committee members, my name is Sean Kershaw. I'm the interim operations manager for Public Works in the city of St. Paul. As Representative Hussein has mentioned, this build-out is critical in order to do the above-ground development. We would need to begin the planning process for that, which would likely happen with, private consultants working very closely with Rondo Community Land Trust and with the city on that in terms of finalizing what that would look like. But our assumption all along is that this project would restore the street grid, which means putting in new sanitary, new stormwater, all the infrastructure that they describe. We've not formally evaluated any plans yet, but we would be a part of that process going forward.
So what would be the timeline for you guys to evaluate that and let the legislature know that this will be the actual cost for the site and whatnot?
Well, we would begin that process immediately, working with the owner for that. And so initial work, it may not take much time to do an initial estimate of that. So we would need to begin that. We haven't started it yet, but it wouldn't take long to do those preliminary estimates.
Representative Scriba.
Thank you, Chair. You jogged my mind here a little bit. The current zoning is what right now? What is it zoned?
It's currently zoned for mixed use, and it cannot be, the current building on there now it's an illegal use of the site.
Oh, okay.
Representative Scriba.
Thank you, Chair. And I got a couple of questions. What I'm trying to determine is, right now, when you say it's zone mixed use, is it commercial mixed use? Is it residential mixed use? What is the current layout? And is there a plan for zoning around the Capitol that, precludes certain types of activity that, you may not want around the Capitol? And is that why it's zoned that way? And you want to change it to what?
So I know that Mr. Kershaw, I think that's a question for you. And then we also have the Department of Administration and the CAP board here too to come talk about that. And so, Mr. Kershaw, can you talk about the current zoning here and then the CAP board? Or
It looks like I have been studying for the last 3 years, and it looks like we have to diminish the whole thing. And if you see in the CAP board have restricted a plan, and I can share that information with you. If you don't have it, you should be having it in front of you. It looks like the whole building needs to be diminished, and we need to see housings, we need to see mixed use, we need to see stores and groceries and green space, and that's the plan that we have. And I can share that data with you. It's not a public yet, but the CAP board have had a plan and have a plan. So the people that purchased in the past could not fulfill for those plans. The only person that came up with the plan and say, hey, I'm willing to do this, and we can move forwards, it was the Rondo Land Trust, and I trust they will do a great job. So the whole building has to be diminished, and the Sears site has to be gone, and it's going to be also the speaker and the Community Rondo Land Trust, Community Rondo want to get Aurora Avenue to be connected to the Capitol. That's a part of it. And also there's a green space and groceries, and it's going to be some good steak house and some kind of like place that we can hang out. We don't have to go to Burger Mo anymore.
We love
Scriba,
Burger
last
Mo's.
follow-up.
All right, thank you. The question that I'm trying to get answered is, if it's zoned A and you want to zone it B, are they close, A and B, or are they two totally different kind of zones? And now you're asking the community around to change its complete.
We are
Mr.
in
Kershaw,
line.
I'm sorry, can we get Mr. Kershaw
Yes.
come speak to this, and then the CAP board maybe just come up just to talk about the intersection between city zoning and, the Capitol Mall, and then we will move on to the next bill. Please proceed.
Chair Lee, again, Sean Kershaw, City of St. Paul Public Works. I think this area is entirely within the jurisdiction of the Capital Area Architectural and Planning Board. So I will actually turn it over to Eric to speak to that.
Welcome, please identify yourself and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Eric Cedarleaf-Dahl, Executive Secretary of the Capital Area Architecture and Planning Board. And yes, the whole area is in Cap Board's zoning jurisdiction. It's zoned mixed use MX1, so for residential, commercial. And we have I think that it was shared, our comprehensive plan lays out what the board's intent is for the site. It's got a lot of detail. I can sure catch up and give you more detail on that. We went through an extensive process with the community, developing what the zoning should be there and what the community was looking for.
Thank you. Representative Scriba, if you have follow-up, you can follow up then individually. Next up, Representative Hussein, House File 4623. Please proceed.
You took my phone. Here. Sit right here. Thank you, Chair, and I won't take a lot of time because I do have a lot of testimony that willing to go forward. House File 4623 is a Frogtown. It's a hardworking community, resilient community, but the data is clear. We are facing serious challenge of poverty, food access, youth approximately within 13.6 food insecurity rate of 25% residents live in poverty. Too many families are struggling to meet basic needs. This is not a small issue. This is a system gap. Over 3,000 residents are facing food insecurity, and current, we do have 84% of that area is youth, and we are seeing a monthly shortage of 10,000 pounds of food that is shortage. Frogtown is also one of the most diverse community in Minnesota, over 84% resident for community of color. If we are serious about equity, we must invest in cultural, responsive solution and support community-led effort. Already, there's a lot of people are doing a great job in that area. But it's not all about food. It's what is my plan is this rec center has acres on empty land. We can utilize and create a workforce opportunity. We can utilize to create a youth activities. We create a community hub. And this is a visionary that I've been working on it for the last 2 years. How do I address the poverty that we've seen in Frogtown? It's, as a legislators, we've seen the numbers at the lowest. For those individuals, we have 10,000 individuals that do not drive and utilize bus line. We have also 44% of the people that is living under $14,000 or less. A lot of people cannot even afford to stay in that area. And that's why I brought this bill forward, and I'm working with other partners to address the concern. And I would like to yield for my testifier, Dr. Bruce.
All right, Dr. Corey, you have 2 minutes. Please identify yourself and proceed.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Lee and members of the committee. I am Dr. Bruce Corey, Professor Emeritus at Concordia University in St. Paul. As an economist, I've been around this area where the proposed recreational dome facility is proposed to be established. And I want to speak to both the community there as well as the economic potential. We are in the heart of what is called the sports economy, where you have Allianz Field and you have all these other developments happening that could be feeder institutions to a new and very potentially important area for Minnesota. At the same time, this area which this development will occur is a lot of working poor, cost-burden households like Representative Hussein mentioned, but yet youth with untapped talent and opportunities, and research and academic research and other kinds of data confirm the very positive role that recreational facilities have in both the youth success as well as the compounding benefit to the community. So I encourage you to consider this project and fund it. Thank you.
Mr. Howard, do you have any additional remarks? You have a minute. Please identify yourself. Proceed.
Yes, good morning. My name is Johnny Howard. I've lived in the Thomasdale Frogtown neighborhood for a little over 40 years, and I've been actively involved at the West Minnehaha Community Center. I'm here to express my strong support and asking for your support for House File 4623. Our community needs real investment. Our young people need safe, positive spaces where they can grow, stay active and connected throughout the entire year. Too often, there are limited opportunities where we see the impact on safety, health, and the overwhelming impact on our kids. This indoor facility is not just about sports, although football is big. It's about opportunity that will provide a place where young youth can stay engaged, build relationships, and develop skills that will benefit them for life. In Frogtown, we are facing real challenges, including poverty, food insecurity. Investments like House File 4623 will help address these issues, creating stability, strengthening community, connecting and giving families access to meaningful resources. This project will support families, empower youth, and build stronger, safer communities. House File 4623 is not just about building a facility, it's about building hope, opportunity, and a better future for the young folks and seniors in the Frogtown neighborhood. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Closing remarks, Representative Hussein.
I just want to thank for my colleagues. When we talk about poverty and food insecurity, we also talk about opportunity space like keeping youth engaged, support health and wellness, and a strength community connection. This is not about charity, it's about investment. When families have stable health, improved kids, they also succeed in school. If we want a strong Minnesota, we must invest in a community like Frogtown and make sure every family has access to food, dignity, opportunity, and safe space so they can all thrive. This is, and I think you have a data in front of you that we have worked on it that explain in detail just the Frogtown, and we have to do something to address the concerned poverty that we've seen in that area. And we need to have activities for our youth, so youth crime can be prevented and provide also. I do have a lot of people that already doing a food shelter, just like I want to thank for feeding Frogtown, Keystone, North Food Shelter, Second Harvest, and Sauna Foundation, but they do not have a place for them to store. They do not have a place for them freezing. So like, we need this infrastructure to address the concern that we've seen, or this place will be worse down future. And I want to thank you, Chair. I'm really passionate about this project, and I want to address this because I have lived in this area for many, many years. Nothing has been improved. It's getting worse. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative Hussein. Next up, we have Representative Hollins, House File 3147. Members, as you come up, I encourage you to keep your remarks short so that your testifiers have the opportunity to present. Representative Hollins, House File 3147, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, committee members. This is a request for Como Zoo and Conservatory to replace Como's structurally failing big cat exhibit. Como Zoo Park and Conservatory has been celebrated as the most visited cultural attraction in Minnesota with as many as 2.2 million visitors per year. And I think it's important to note that Como visitors come from all over the state. In fact, only 16% of them come from the city of St. Paul, and the rest come from either the metro area, greater Minnesota, or even out of state. Whether it's creating fun experiences that deepen knowledge and a sense of connection, or making sure it's easy and welcoming for all people to visit, Como is always inviting and always inspiring. The Big Cat exhibit covers 1/6 of the zoo's footprint, and closing this section of the zoo will leave a crumbling building at the center of an empty exhibit that was once one of the major draws of the Como Zoo. I'd like to introduce Erica Prosser, the Deputy Director, Interim Director of Como Park Zoo and Conservatory, who can share more details about the project.
Welcome. Please identify yourself and proceed.
Thank you. My name is Erica Prosser. Thank you, Representative Hollins. I am the Deputy Director of Parks and Recreation for the City of St. Paul and Como Park Zoo and Conservatory. You took a few of my talking points here. I'm joined today by Katie Hill, who is the Executive Director of Como Friends, the nonprofit partner that supports Como, and Jill Izar, who is one of our senior zookeepers at Como. Como Park Zoo and Conservatory is one of Minnesota's most visited cultural institution, welcoming up to over 2 million visitors a year. Families and school groups come from across the state, from the Twin Cities and Greater Minnesota, to experience wildlife, nature, and science together. Every year, we host school groups from communities across the state, many of whom are visiting the zoo for the first time. Today, specifically, we are here to talk about the need for a new Big Cats exhibit. The Big Cats exhibit at Como has reached the end of its useful life for both visitors and animals. It's nearly 50 years old. Without reinvestment, we risk having to relocate animals, closing nearly 1/6 of the zoo experience for visitors, and potentially losing our accreditation with the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, AZA. All severe outcomes that we hope to avoid. What makes Como truly unique is that it remains completely free. While admission to most zoos and cultural attractions can cost anywhere from $14 to $50 a person. As stated, 16% of our visitors come from St. Paul, 15 are from out of state. So the majority of our visitors, 69% of those, represent visitors from the rest of the state. Nearly half of our visitors come from households earning under $50,000 a year, and with a core audience of young families and field trip groups. Como is the state's leading conservation classroom, welcoming more than 700,000 school-age visitors each year. The zoo and conservatory also generates roughly $200 million annually in economic impact for the state of Minnesota, supporting tourism, hospitality, and local businesses. While the city of St. Paul supports the daily operations of Como, maintaining and modernizing major public infrastructure requires partnership with the state of Minnesota, a partnership that has previously included support for major capital investments like the last investment in 2018 of $15 million for Como Harbor. The total project cost of the Big Cats exhibit is approximately $25 million. Our nonprofit partner, Como Friends, has already committed $3.4 million to this project, and we are seeking state bonding assistance to complete the project and ensure the exhibit remains part of Minnesota's most visited cultural attraction. For generations, Como has been a place where family members, no matter where they live or what they can afford, can connect with nature and wildlife. It has educated, inspired countless young people to appreciate and care for our natural surroundings. Now, more than ever, we must commit to ensuring that this vital institution remains a place that fosters curiosity and helps create the next group of environmental stewards. With your partnership, I'm confident that we can accomplish this and ensure future generations have access to this incredibly meaningful experiences, like standing nose to nose with my favorite, I'm not supposed to say that, but our beloved lion, Mumford. Right now, I'm going to hand it over to our senior keeper, Jill, who can talk about the importance of maintaining our AZA accreditation, as well as the existing conditions of the existing exhibit. Jill? Perfect.
Welcome. You have a minute, so please identify yourself and keep your remarks short.
Perfect. Thank you. My name is Jill Urzar. Like Erica said, I'm the senior keeper for cats, so I'm responsible for not only the zookeepers in the area, but also the inhabitants. And my big guy, Mumford, is very hairy and very loud, and he needs a lot of space. So we touched on it briefly, but our current big cat habitats are falling apart. If you come and visit us, you will see a giant scaffold, which is holding up our visitor pathways. And when it rains outside, it rains inside too, which is unfortunate. So we have a very outdated design in the 80s for whatever reason. It was a favorite of most architects to build the visitors above the animals. So when you come to Como, usually you look down on the animals. And we have a new design which would put you eye to eye. So one of my roles I like to talk about is how my job is to tell their story. And it's really hard to tell their story from 20 feet above them. So we are looking for new glass, for new dynamic exhibits. and really to increase their well-being. Right now, my habitats are fine for a healthy, very well in shape animal. Most of our animals aren't that because we keep them, we care for them their entire lives. So when I get to a geriatric stage or I get to a newborn, I don't have the facilities currently to care for them the best we could. We also have accessibility issues. If you've ever been to Como and you watch a young mom struggling down the steps with a giant stroller, that's hard. But on the other side of that, it's also hard for the cats. We don't have a great habitat, again, for an aging animal or an aging collection. We already talked about when it rains inside, it rains outside. And then Erica touched on it briefly. The Association of AZA is really what sets us up and above most of the roadside zoos you see or any of the non-accredited zoos. And it holds us to not only the highest standard, but we exceed that standard by looking at a new design for our cat habitat.
Thank you. Quick closing comments, Representative Hollins.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Committee. I think this is a good project. It's clearly a regional asset as well as an equity issue because it's the only free zoo in the state of Minnesota. So I'm sorry I didn't bring a cat for you here today to pet or eat you. But I hope you will consider this in the bonding bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Representative Hollins. Next up, we have Chair Fischer, House File 4866. After that, we'll have Representative Johnson, and then after Representative Johnson, we'll have Representative Nelson. Chair Fischer, to your bill.
Thank you, Chair Lee and Committee, for the opportunity to present House File 4866. This is a bill that will provide funding to the St. Paul Regional Water Services to rehab their Mississippi River pump station. This provides water for over 450,000 customers in 14 different communities. In addition to, that's the first section of the bill. The second section of the bill is to provide funds for continued work on lead service pipe replacement, a program that they started over a decade ago. Total need is $250 million over the next 10 years. The request would be for, it's an open appropriation. Right now, they're spending approximately $23 million a year for lead service pipe replacement. With that, I'd like to turn it to my testifier.
Welcome. Please identify yourself and proceed.
Great. Thank you, Chair and Committee, for having me back again. Thank you, Representative Fischer, for giving us the opportunity. My name is Raquel Vasky. A month ago, I had never been to this building, and now I feel like I've got the drill down, so thanks again for having me. I serve as the General Manager for St. Paul Regional Water Services, and this morning, first, I want to talk about our small but mighty Fridley pump station. You should have a handout in front of you. It is this tiny white building that sits on the side of the Mississippi River, and it doesn't get enough credit because that tiny little building is responsible for pulling in, on average, 40 to 50 million gallons of water off the Mississippi River and feeding our supply system, which brings that water to a chain of lakes, which we then bring to us and treat at our treatment plant here in St. Paul. We have appropriations to pull up to 100 million gallons off of the river each day, and such a vital resource, one being talked about around the country of water resource. And here in Minnesota, we have the wonderful opportunity to have the Mississippi River running right by us. Without the availability of the Fridley pump station staying in great shape, that water will run right by our state and go unused. The reliable access to river water is especially important as we see growing pressure on groundwater systems across the state. Aquifer limitations and PFAS discussions have been widely discussed, particularly in areas like the White Bear Lake. Leveraging the Mississippi River allows SPRWS to rely on surface water, serving St. Paul and all of the other communities we serve with that surface water, opposed to adding additional demand to groundwater. We're requesting $3.5 million to rehabilitate and modernize this essential facility, one of the most critical assets in our drinking water system. The pump station's over 100 years old. It was originally built to serve only the city of St. Paul. Today, SPRWS provides drinking water to 14 cities, serving over 450,000 Minnesotans every single day. Despite its age, the Fridley pump station remains a cornerstone of that system. However, after a century of use, we are reaching the limits of continued incremental repairs. While we have invested significantly to maintain operations, some of the key components, including electrical systems, pumps, piping, and controls, are aging and in some cases approaching failure. This is not just about fixing an old facility, it's about ensuring reliable, safe drinking water for an entire region. This request represents a shift from SPRWS's past. It's the first time that we've come forward with a specific funding request outside of our traditional use of PFA loans. We are doing so because an immediate infusion of funding is necessary to address years of deferred investment and ensure critical infrastructure improvements can move forward without delay. At the same time, we have a clear and responsible path forward. We've got a great 10-year capital plan we've been spending a lot of time building out. Over $350 million in revenue-funded capital we plan to be able to cover ourselves over the next 10 years. It's about $30 million in capital projects we take on this year alone. In addition to that, we've taken on significant debt, $250 million to just rebuild our treatment plant. I say that to make sure that you know we understand that capital needs are our priority, and we have great plans in place. We need support right now because of the aging infrastructure that we're working to repair, all of which was put in around the same time. Total cost of improvements needed at the Fridley pump station is approximately $7.5 million. This $3.5 million request will allow us to move forward with critical upgrades. Without this investment, we would face difficult trade-offs. Delaying these improvements would increase long-term costs and significantly start increasing our risk. Funding this project on our own would force us to defer other critical projects, such as water main replacements that directly impact system reliability. Section 2 of this bill slides back to lead, which you've heard me talk about a few times over the last few weeks. I want to start by noting that our strong preference is to address the lead issue with a comprehensive statewide approach, which was outlined in Representative Jordan's Bill 3748. However, as we have shared in prior discussions, lead service line replacements is an extremely costly undertaking, and the scale of the work requires sustained long-term funding. While federal support through the IIJA has been critical, that funding is temporary and running out. By the end of 2027, those federal dollars will be exhausted, leaving us with an unfunded mandate. It is essential that Minnesota is prepared to maintain the momentum we have spent years building. SPRWS has been a state and national leader in this work. In fact, this year we'll be recognized with multiple different awards for the program that we've created and helped others replicate. One that, I learned this today, you can't bring in yard signs, but our program has our jobs program. This is a replica of the 10-passenger van that we have. You all have heard we have a jobs program. We've eliminated the driver's license requirement. Our van picks up employees who live in St. Paul and don't have a driver's license. We put them through driver's ed. We give them the skills to be able to do this water infrastructure work, and then they promote into roles to work on our lead-free program. We also have yard signs and a huge communications program that's resulted in more than 94% participation from our customers when offered the chance to get their lead replaced. So we are leading the way in how this work needs to be done. If we can't fund the full state program, we ask that you consider funding SPRWS so we can support you in pursuing additional federal level funding for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Closing comments, Chair Fischer.
Thank you for consideration. I hope you give serious consideration to funding this request. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, House File 2698, Representative Johnson. And after Representative Johnson will be Representative Nelson and then Representative Altendorf. Please proceed.
Thank you, chairs, members. House File 2698 would provide funding for wastewater treatment for the Western Lake Superior Sanitary District, publicly known as Resource Renew. They serve a 530 square mile area, including Duluth, Hermantown, Cloquet, and the surrounding region. The district provides essential public infrastructure that supports health, safety, and economic vitality to the region. Each day it serves 17 communities, 4 major industrial customers, ensuring reliable wastewater treatment that protects the natural resources and supports the region's economy. This work is especially important in our area where protecting Lake Superior is critical not just for the environment, but for tourism, shipping, the quality of life, and all the other things that go on up there. Today, we're here to request support for the final effluent filtration improvement project. This project will maintain the ability to meet the regulatory requirements and reduce pollution. With that, I'd like to pass it off to my testifier, Resource Renew Executive Director, Carrie Clement.
So we have Director Clement, who's joining us online. Welcome. Please identify yourself and proceed.
Thank you, Chair Lee. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair Lee and members of the Capital Investment Committee. Thank you for giving me the time to speak today, and thank you to Representative Johnson, along with Representatives Kozlowski and Skraba for authorizing and supporting House File 2698. My name is Carrie Clement. I currently serve as the Executive Director at the West.
Director, can you move closer to the microphone that you have on your system?
Is this better?
Yeah, please proceed.
Okay. I currently serve as the Executive Director of the Western Lake Superior Sanitary District, publicly known as Resource Renew. We operate the second largest treatment facility in the state and provide essential public infrastructure to every residence, business, and industry critical for the public and economic health of our region. We provide effective and reliable collection and wastewater treatment for 17 communities and 4 major industries within our 530 square mile area around Duluth, Hermantown, and Cloquet, where the St. Louis River flows into Lake Superior. This legislation would support our final effluent filtration improvement project. This project is necessary to replace a part of the treatment process which is critical to reliably ensuring permit compliance. The majority of the equipment and facilities that support this process were originally constructed in 1978 and have reached the end of their useful life. Effluent filtration is a process critical for reliably removing small solids particles and mercury, which is a toxic heavy metal that binds to suspended solids. Removing solids and mercury is necessary for us to ensure current and future regulatory limits are consistently achieved. Our discharge to the St. Louis River and Lake Superior is subject to one of the nation's most stringent discharge limits for mercury. This state investment would support proactive infrastructure renewal, managing replacement of the asset before more urgent repairs are necessary at a higher cost. For this $40 million project, this bill would provide $20 million in bond funds, which we would match through the Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund loan paid back by our users. We do long-term planning, and our 10-year capital improvement plan includes over $230 million of identified wastewater infrastructure improvement needs. Our plan for financing these needs includes savings through operational improvements, direct user charges, debt service, and support through bond funds for this effluent filtration improvement project, all to maintain reasonable rate increases for our municipal and industrial customers. Maintaining reasonable rates is important to retaining the significant number of jobs supported by the communities and industries we serve within our jurisdictional boundaries and beyond. Supporting this bill is important to ensure protection of the environment, public health, and the economic vitality of the entire region located at the head of Lake Superior, and all from outside the region who come to enjoy it. Thank you for your time, and thank you for supporting this legislation. There should be a fact sheet and a video with additional information on the project as well.
Thank you, Director. Seeing no questions, closing comments, Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Chair, members. Really appreciate your time to hear about this very important regional project.
Thank you. Next up, we have Representative Nelson, House File 4796. Welcome, Representative Nelson. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair Lee and committee. The bill I have today is House File 4796. It's for the rehabilitation of the Willard Munger Trail from a section from Finlayson to Hinckley. And that's the portion of the trail is amongst the in the top 5 worst trails in the state as far as roughness. And as we look at this, there parallels Highway 61 for a little while. It's a county road, and there's bicycles and stuff will ride out onto the county road instead of the trail because the trail is so poor. So, excuse me. And with that, I would like to turn it over to my testifier.
Welcome. Please identify yourself and proceed.
Thank you, Chair Lee and members of the committee. My name is Dave Octor, the former mayor of Finlayson and a member of the Friends of Munger South. The Willard Munger State Trail, a 40-year-old asphalt trail from Duluth to Hinckley, runs through our community. It connects towns built along a former railway, and it is the first state-authorized bike trail of its kind and was named after the distinguished late representative from Duluth, affectionately known as Mr. Environment. This iconic 70-mile trail showcases the natural beauty of Minnesota's forests, wetlands, rivers, and meadows, and has drawn riders from across the state and country for decades. That legacy is now in grave jeopardy. The Parks and Trails Council of Minnesota provides trail quality ratings, projections, and needs assessments to the DNR. In their January 2026 report on page 9, they identified 103 miles of the roughest stretches of state trails. Of those, 46 miles are on the Munger Trail, meaning that 45% of the trail is essentially unfit for biking. When trails deteriorate, riders move to other trails, other states, or onto asphalt roads. The 13 miles between Finlayson and Hinckley is the worst contiguous trail section in the entire state. Severe cracking, sinkholes, and failing culverts have made it treacherous to ride. Because of that, many local riders have turned to roads with little to no shoulders, no bike lanes, and high-speed traffic. With distracted driving on the rise, that's a dangerous combination. A few years ago, our school superintendent, Stephanie, was struck by a distracted driver and nearly lost her life. Last year, 2 cyclists were killed in our area, including Diane, a woman from my church, whom I helped lay to rest. These are not statistics. These are our friends and neighbors. The project in this bill restores 13 miles of critical infrastructure, bringing riders off dangerous roads and back onto a safe, protected corridor. It also supports the local economy by drawing cyclists back to the Munger Trail. Engineering is complete and portions are ready for construction. With your support, this project can move forward now, before conditions worsen, costs rise, and more lives are threatened. This bill is about preventing the next tragedy and protecting the people who rely on this trail every day. No one should have to risk their life to take a bike ride. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Representative Sexton.
Are there any matching funds for this project?
Mayor Akhtar.
Chair, excuse me, I didn't hear the question.
Are there any matching funds? Thanks, Chair.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no other questions, close the comments, Representative Nelson.
Thank you, and I hope you take this into consideration as an important part of our trail systems, and look forward to your support.
Thank you, Representative Nelson. Next up, we have Representative Altendorf, House File 4918. And Representative Altendorf, I notice you have a DE1 amendment for reference. Can you explain the amendment and then please proceed?
Thank you, Chair Lee. I want to thank you for including this. The DE that you see, Senator Pappas heard this in the Senate, and that is their version. So that is what the DE amendment is.
Sounds good. Please proceed.
Thank you. Members, this is one of our, I would say, favorite bills. It's no new spending. This is a modification bill of a capital investment project that was already done, and I will turn over to my testifiers.
Please proceed.
Good morning, Chair Lee and members. Thank you for this opportunity. As you just heard, state bond funds were awarded for this project, $14.8 million in 2017 and $10 million in 2020 to construct a bridge to separate the existing rail grade on Sturgeon Lake Road to address safety concerns and emergency access. This project was substantially completed on time and under budget in 2025. Sturgeon Lake Road is currently classified as full pavement compromise and requires reconstruction and safety improvements. It's a busy roadway that provides the only access to Treasure Island Resort and Casino, Xcel Energy's Prairie Island Nuclear Generating Plant, and Lock and Dam number 3 on the Mississippi. Sturgeon Lake Road is approximately 17 miles from downtown Red Wing, but it is within city limits. The City of Red Wing and the Prairie Island Indian community are requesting legislation to utilize the approximate $4 million in remaining bond funds to reconstruct the adjacent portions of Sturgeon Lake Road that were outside the original scope of the rail grade separation project. In your packet of materials, you see some maps of the condition of the current roadway. It has been approximately 30 years since the last reconstruction, and it is in desperate need of renovation. And so we are currently at this project closeout phase, and any unused funds, as you know, that remain after the project is finalized and the grant agreement is closed would be on hold and not available to the City of Red Wing without approval of the proposed legislation. So we would greatly appreciate your support.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, please identify yourself and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members, for the time to speak in support of this bill. My name is Blake Johnson. I'm Government Relations Specialist for the Prairie Island Indian community and also a tribal member Prairie Island is one of 4 federally recognized Dakota tribes here in Minnesota. We are on the southeast side of the state along the Mississippi River. We would like to thank the state for funding critical infrastructure for the safety and well-being for anyone that comes to Prairie Island Indian community. The Sturgeon Lake Road is the only reliable access road on and off our reservation. I want to thank the city of Red Wing for the partnership and work to complete the Sturgeon Lake Overpass project. The funds in House File 4918 give opportunity to continue improvement to the safety and access for our community members, employees, guests, and the Prairie Island Nuclear Generating Plant. We would encourage the community to support this legislation to continue infrastructure improvements. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Members, any discussion? Representative Scraba.
Thank you, Chair. Is any of this work going to be interrupted or used by the expansion of the Wanamingo sewer project? Does this go anywhere near it, anything? Perfect, thank you.
Closing comments, Representative Altendorf.
No, again, thank you, Chair Lee, for including us. This is a modification bill, and we hope that it is included.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have 2 bills for Representative Pérez-Vega. The first one is House File 4864. Please proceed. And then Representative Pérez-Vega, I understand you have an amendment for reference. Can you talk about the amendment?
Sorry, Mr. Chair. I've got 2 bills here. It's St. Paul Day.
4864.
4864. Yes, this would be a amendment that we drafted where the funds would go to the GO bonds instead of the general fund.
Sounds
So,
good. Please
Can I
proceed.
move that oral amendment? May I? Thank you.
Just go for it. Yep.
All right. Hello, members of the committee, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair. I'm here to present House File 4864, which is for the City of St. Paul's West 7th Street Improvement Project. I want to thank everyone for having this St. Paul Day in our committee. As the chair of the delegation, I'm here bringing forward one of our delegation's priorities, not just for my district, but also for the surrounding districts. As you've seen for many of the folks, I want to say Vice Chair Hussein made a little pun at Burger Mo's, but I love Burger Mo's, and this is an incident that means very in-depth with the businesses and the residents who suffered from a sinkhole last year. And what I like to say is we want reliable transportation. We want better streets in our city of St. Paul and throughout the district, but we've got to work on the utilities of that. And I have here next to me from Public Works of the city of St. Paul, Mr. Sean Kershaw, who expressed to us in our bonding tour how these utilities underneath West 7th Street's infrastructure is over a century years old. And I'm going to pass the mic over to Mr. Kershaw, and thank you for being here.
Welcome. Please identify yourself again. Proceed.
Yeah, Chair, thank you very much. My name is Sean Kershaw, Interim Operations Manager for the City of St. Paul, and grateful to be here, and thanks to Representative Pérez-Vega. I'll make 3 points briefly, and certainly we'll answer questions. This is a really important corridor. It's an important corridor to the neighborhood and the businesses that we've mentioned. It's an important corridor to the City of St. Paul. It's an important corridor to the region, and as Trunk Highway 5, it's an important corridor for the state. The infrastructure that the representative mentioned is extremely old and extremely expensive to repair and restore. The sewer infrastructure underneath the sanitary sewers are about 130 years old, and they're carved directly into the sandstone and the limestone there. So the work that costs, a normal amount, I'll say elsewhere, is 3 to 5 times more expensive in this corridor. The third point I'll mention is timing is really important here. There's an historic opportunity to reconstruct the road, and we're working very closely with Met Transit, the Ramsey County, and MnDOT on that project. In order for the street reconstruction to happen, we've got to address the sewer work underneath. And so the priority here is to get the sewer work done in the next few years so that the reconstruction can follow hopefully in 2029.
Members, discussion. Chair Kosnick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Representative Pérez-Vega. On this bill with you, I would just want to lay on the record that last year in the transportation bill, we had an amendment to some money that is eligible to be used as a loan from Metro Transit or the Met Council to MnDOT. But doing the utilities here is the critical first step. We've met separately. I appreciate the meeting and your advocacy. But that corridor, we do recognize as a very important corridor to get into downtown St. Paul and for the region and all the way to the airport. And so I'm in support of this. Unfortunately, it is pretty expensive for the reasons that you stated, Mr. Kershaw. But I just think it's a very valuable, important project that we need for the region, and I'm in support of it. Also recognizing St. Paul Day, there are a lot of asks, as every time the committee meets, there are a ton of asks, and we need to prioritize them. And without going into the next bill, which I think is aspirational and a good vision, we need to do the kind of the utility work and the nuts and bolts first of the critical infrastructure. We'll take it one step at a time. But thank you for this bill. Great work advocating for this and doing the work to kind of figure out how we get that corridor going. But this is the first step. And then whether it's a bus rapid transit or a ABRT line, we can talk about that later. But it's important work. Thank you.
Closing comments.
I just want to thank the committee for hearing this. This is a priority for my entire delegation. I also want to thank the bipartisanship work that we've been working on together and what are the first steps. And these are the first steps. We can't have any more sinkholes. If there's one right across the street from Burger Mo's and kitty corner from the GCA, there's definitely several plans that could be very dangerous for our residents and our business owners going all the way to the airport. With that, Mr. Chair, I thank you for hearing House File 4864.
Thank you, Representative Pérez-Vega. Next up, House File 1420. Representative Pérez-Vega, please proceed.
Yes, I'd like to bring over Commissioner Rena Moran, former House member of District 65A, as well as representation from the County of Ramsey. I'm pushing forward here House File 1420, which is a request of appropriation of $20 million for the park at River's Edge. This is a vibrant public space that is a priority, top priority for the downtown vitality amongst the county with supportive partnerships. I was happy to champion the first phases in my first term for $6.2 million. But we need to make sure that that mole of what used to be a Ramsey County jail that I grew up watching and now live across the river for is the step that is going to not only connect the district's downtown neighborhood, but all of river life. And with that, I am pushing forward House File 1420, and I'd like to invite Commissioner Moran here to my left.
Welcome back, Commissioner Moran. Please identify yourself and proceed.
Well, thank you and good morning, everyone, and good to be back in capital investment. Good morning to Co-Chair Lee and Co-Chair Franson, and to the Minnesota, the House Capital Investment Committee. My name is Rena Moran, Ramsey County Commissioner. I want to thank you for the opportunity to present Ramsey County top bonding priority, the park at River's Edge. As you know, there are significant property tax pressures facing many of our communities. One of the Ramsey County top priorities is to reduce the property tax burden on our residents. This strategy centers on housing, business growth, and job creation to drive long-term growth in the tax base, targeting areas where we can have the greatest impact, including a vibrant downtown and the redevelopment of county-owned land. The downtown real estate market is at a critical juncture. This investment in Park at River's Edge will bring returns that reach far beyond downtown and Ramsey County, unlocking housing, retail, and commercial development, and driving economic growth, opportunity, and shared prosperities across our entire region. We know these investments work, which is why Ramsey County started this investment back in 2015. In 2015, the site was cleared and remediated for development, where we invested $17 million. In 2022, Ramsey County committed $26 million to the park project. In 2023, we came before this body and asked for and received $6.22 million in tax appropriation for the design and pre-construction. that has been completed. And so today, we come before you to ask for $20 million in state funding to finalize the park construction and drive private development. The completion of public funding is vital to unlocking hundreds of millions in private development, fostering job creation, and expanding the tax base, including affordable housing and enhancing regional amenities. This is not just a St. Paul development. This is not just a Ramsey County development. This is a state regional development. And so when it is fully built out, the broader River Edge project would represent $800 million in private development that generates an estimate $15 million in annual property tax revenue. And we believe that it will create more than 5,000 jobs in construction, hospitality, and services. This isn't, again, just an investment in a project. This is an investment in people, in opportunity, in thriving neighborhoods, and in a stronger, more prosperous future for every community that we serve. I ask you all to keep in mind that this downtown is not just a St. Paul downtown, as I just said before. It is not just a Ramsey County downtown. It will be the home of the Minnesota State Capitol, and it is a state downtown. And so as you think about this project and the investment that we've already made and the investment that you have made into creating this process, that really is a transit-oriented development, which is around active transportation, walkways, bikeways, many from the Union downtown. When you think about being here late at night, you brought your family in for the weekend, this would be an opportunity for you to take your family downtown St. Paul and to walk the streets, to endure all the amenities that has been provided for us all here in the city of St. Paul in Ramsey County. I want to thank Representative Maria East of Pérez-Vega for carrying this bill, and I want to thank you all of the committee members for giving us the time to share our bold, transformative vision for the future of our downtown. And if you have any questions, I do have Brian Isaacson here to answer any questions, or Brian, and Josh Olson to answer any questions you may have on this development.
Thank you, Commissioner. Seeing no questions, closing comments, Representative Pérez-Vega.
I want to thank members of the committee for hearing this. It was a priority, continues to be a priority for my district and for all who we're deserving of our river life. We have the largest part of the Mississippi River right there in front of River's Edge. It's sacred Dakota indigenous land. It is an expansion of a once-in-a-century opportunity to transform an urban tract of land into welcoming mixed use, as Commissioner Moran has expressed, and we deserve that. We deserve that river life in our capital city of Ramsey County, and I am going to continue to push forward for this River's Edge Park. Gracias.
Thank you, Representative Pérez-Vega. Members, now we'll be moving on to take action on two vehicle bills since a joint target for GO bond has not been agreed to. So with the time getting short, Chair Franson and I have decided that this is a good route to go. We do have two bills in Ways and Means that chief authored by Chair Franson, and so these two are authored by me, and so we'll be moving forward. And as a reminder, as we all know, last year we passed the $700 million all-agency bills, and so I think there was an understanding among the four of us leads and our leadership that this year we'll have a higher level of spending for local projects, and that is my hope as we move forward. And as we have heard this session, we have the ability, with the guidelines from MMB, going up to $1.2 billion for guideline 3, with the flexibility should we want to be able to bond for 1.9. And so we have a lot of flexibility this year, and so I will hope that we consider that in the next few weeks. As you all remember, for 2026, there's about $6.8 billion worth of requests, $3.8 billion from the state agencies, and $3 billion from our communities across the entire state. And so with that, the first bill that we'll be moving is House File 3478. I move House File 3478 to get it before the committee with a recommendation that it's referred to Ways and Means. Any discussions? Hearing none, I renew my motion that House File 3478 is referred to Ways and Means. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The motion prevails, and House File 3478 is referred to the Ways and Means Committee. Members, the next vehicle bill that we have before of us is House File 4656. I move House File 4656 before the committee with a recommendation that it is referred to Ways and Means. Any discussion? Representative Scraba.
Thank you, Chair. I was busy on this other bill looking at it, and the 3478, I just wanted, and I know it's already done, but I had asked them about putting an elevator connecting that parking ramp to the tunnel. Is that in or out? Do you know?
As of right now, Representative Scraba, I think that is out of the submission from MMB and the Department of Administration, but as we move forward, if that's part of this discussion, we could have those with the agencies too.
I go in and out of it now, and I'm just shake my head like, because when I asked them how much it's going to cost, he said, like $2 million. And I'm like, are you kidding? Put it on there. You know, it's like compared to putting an elevator to the Capitol, to the new state office building, $2 million is worthy to have an elevator for handicapped people to move around, everything about it. So that's all I wanted to bring up.
No, I really appreciate that and your interest in making sure that we have ADA compliant facilities here on the campus. And I know that the Department of Administration is here too. And as we have these discussions, if we were to move forward with this item, we could talk about that too.
Great. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Yep. So I renew my motion that House File 4656 is referred to the Ways and Means Committee. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The motion prevails and House File 4656 is referred to the Ways and Means Committee. So members, this concludes our regular committee hearings this session, but the work will continue as we head towards the end of session. Just want to say thank you to Chair Franson for your partnership, our Vice Chairs, Representative Frederick and Representative Fogelman, for the two of you being on our tours, and all of our members for your diligent conversation this session. Really want to say thank you to all of our committee staff. First, nonpartisan staff, Chelsea Griffin, who's over there, Mr. Andy Lee. To our partisan staff, Chelsea Exelson. I know that she's not with us today, but really appreciate her work. Our committee administrator, Joe Marble and Jenny Nash. Our committee legislative assistants, Karina Nelson and Nia Chain and Evelyn Weiner for our DFL partisan staff over here. And so before I turn it over to Chair Franzen for any closing remarks, also just want to say thank you to our pages, Henry and Liz, and to Joe Marble especially. I heard that this may be your last committee hearing of your public service, and so I just want to say thank you for your years of service to the Minnesota House of Representatives and to the state of Minnesota. And with that, I will turn it over to Chair Franzen.
Well, considering my rap songs didn't go over as well as I had thought they would, I'll leave that for the interwebs to let history live on. But I know, for the record, I'm sure the taxpayers in Minnesota are not. I want to thank everybody on this committee, as well as our staff and all the advocates that have journeyed along with us the entire way. Bonding is, it's a lot of fun. I think this is the best committee, and we have all formed friendships, and those bonding tours are part of that, getting to know each other on a personal level. So it's really hard to go after Rick Hansen on the House floor when I just adore him completely on the Capital Investment Committee. And the same thing with Representative Carroll, one of my favorites. You are. Yeah, I know. You're so sweet. But seriously, though, it is also a hard committee because, as you heard Chair Lee talk about the needs across the state, there's difficult decisions that have to be made, and not everybody is going to be happy when that bonding bill comes out. And that's probably the hardest thing, is that disappointment, and knowing that there are communities out there that have crumbling infrastructure and dirty water, and they may not get anything out of the bonding bill. $1.2 billion sounds like a lot of money, but when you are looking at the projects and the needs across the state, it doesn't get you nearly close to what you need. And, unfortunately, and I'll say it again, is because of years of people not wanting a bonding bill for various reasons, we are way behind on the infrastructure, and that doesn't save the taxpayers any dollars. The projects just get more costly. And those projects, if they're not done through bonding, end up going on the property tax. So you're not saving taxpayers any money by doing that either. But again, I just want to thank each and every one of the staff. You know, Jenny, you did such a great job working with Joe on the bonding tours, and I'm very grateful to that. And we kept that train moving quite smoothly. And I want to thank our nonpartisan staff, Andy Lee and Chelsea Griffith. Thank you so much. And for our Democrat staffs, and I can never remember who's there and who's not, because it kind of, and our House staff. So thank you. And Joe Marble, I think I'll probably cry on your last day. This institution will definitely be missed. We'll definitely miss you. And I want to thank Chair Koznick for all your help putting together the last bonding bill. I really appreciate the knowledge that you have on transportation and bringing that to our Capital Investment Committee. And Roger Scraba, I know that I give you a hard time talking a lot and teasing you, but you've been a really good sport, so thank you for that. And Representative Myers, you really do advocate a lot for your communities. I appreciate that. And I really appreciated yesterday's text message when you said I'd look like $10 million. I said maybe a few $1 million. I don't think anybody in this committee is looking a lot like $10 million these days. But with that, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair Franzen, and again, members, thank you so very much. And to our nonpartisan staff, I forgot to mention our yellow ties too, from the Sergeant's office and then the State Patrol. Thank you guys for keeping us and the members of the public safe. With that, members, future meetings of the Capital Investment Committee will be as needed at the call of the chair. This meeting is adjourned.